Live. What's going on, everybody? So, I am joined here with Dr. Todd Lee. He's a medical doctor, biochemist, and IFBB pro bodybuilder. We're going to be talking about a lot of stuff today, gear talk, bodybuilding, training, veganism, vegan nutrition, protein sources, stuff like that. First stumbled across your channel because I just randomly got recommended your stuff. I've been interested in taking steroids for a while. I've been natty my whole life, but just being in the fitness industry and everything, being super into lifting, I've always been curious about taking steroids. And I've always looked for good information on the topic. Randomly got recommended your channel, really liked your stuff. You're one of the few people who talks about gear online that makes a hell of a lot of sense and also simplifies some of the more like complex topics and demystifies why you should or shouldn't use some of these drugs. Um, Now, I just wanted to like let's just start off with some like gear talk. Um, I have no idea what my testosterone levels are right now. I haven't actually gotten them checked.
Mhm.
I had some like weird health thing going on a few months ago where I just randomly got this massive drop in appetite. And I was also having like weird fucked up shit with my libido where for a few days, zero libido. And then for another few days, just insane, crazy, fucking nonstop erections. I'd even be working out and like just boner. It was weird. So I wanted to get my test levels checked. There was a TRT clinic in Toronto that I found out about. And it seemed like they're pretty open to the idea of using like testosterone for performance enhancement. So kind of wanted to look into them. And then for some fucking reason, they hung up on me when they called me when I set up the appointment, and then they never called back. And I was like, well, so I it's better now. I feel normal and I've been making gains, but I wanted to just know some of your thoughts on like let's say somebody was apprehensive of just starting off with testosterone or something because of things like endogenous shutdown, maybe some of the side effects like acne and crap, hair loss. What do you think of like a growth hormone only cycle?
So the main public has been misinformed that if an appropriate amount of HRT caused any problems, then all the teenagers would be bald. So we can forget about the hair loss from HRT right there. Same thing with the pimples. Yes, you get pimples from huge surges. But in my experience, from all the people I've worked with, if I put them on something low, like 20 milligrams of testosterone cypionate a day, so that the levels of the drug stay stable, they're not up and down, up and down, up and down. The way that these HRT clinics do it is wrong. They have you do 100 milligrams on Wednesday and Sunday, and they give you a half an Arimidex on Wednesday and Sunday. And the idea is that patient compliance, that
Yeah.
they know that patients aren't going to be disciplined or responsible. So they give you a huge needle and have you fill it up to the number one, and then they inject or a 0.5 and they have you inject that twice a week because it's the least amount of responsibility for the patient. Now the patients misunderstand this and think that's the correct way to do it. That's not optimally the way to do it. That's just that when you treat 1,000 people, you'll get the best results this way because out of 1,000 people, 500 of them are below average intelligence by definition. And so if you've got someone who isn't brain dead, then having them use an insulin syringe every day is much better because the insulin syringe is smaller, it doesn't hurt, you can reach the muscle with it, and if you have stable levels, you're not going to have the fluctuations. And the side effects come from those fluctuations because when there's fluctuations, the enzymes 5 alpha reductase will convert the testosterone to DHT, and the enzyme aromatase will convert the testosterone to estradiol. and that those are good to a point, and then after that point, those become bad. So HRT is the foundation. Even if someone wanted to use performance enhancing drugs like steroids for any sport or for bodybuilding or for cosmetic reasons, you still need to do what people call a testosterone base is misleading because they do it wrong. A real testosterone base is just HRT. So using HRT with growth hormone is the best way to go, just 20 milligrams a day of test and 2 units a day of GH. And the reason for this is the GH potentiates the androgen receptor and the testosterone potentiates the GH receptor. So even though you're using these tiny doses, you can get incredible results due to synergy. And since these are naturally occurring hormones in the body, it's still HRT. That's why I call it HRT, not TRT, is to try to use testosterone without growth hormone is running on one leg. To try to use growth hormone without testosterone is running on one leg. The other issue that we run into is people are afraid of the side effects of test, or they're afraid of the side effects of GH. Side effects occur when you're abusing a drug. By definition, if you're using a drug to the point where there's side effects, you've now abused the drugs. Side effects don't happen with use of a drug in almost anyone. A lot of times I'm going to speak in generalities because I'm speaking between the -2 and the +2 Z-scores. So 95% of the time, 95% of the population will respond the way I say. So if I say, if you do X, Y, you will get Z, that means 95% of people that will work. There will be some people that'll get Z+1. There'll be some people that get Z-1. Those are outliers. I can't address outliers. It would take forever. And it misrepresents the people are anxious. They have a lot of neuroses. So as soon as they hear a side effect, they imagine that side effect's going to happen to them. And through the nocebo effect, they create that side effect. So that's why I usually ignore those. And I wait until a patient has a problem. And then if there's a problem, I fix it. But most of the time, if I don't tell someone about it, they don't experience it. The perfect example is there's an anabolic steroid called nandrolone or DECA. I had a guy on DECA for 4 years, never had a problem. Somebody told him about DECA-Dick, and immediately he starts having DECA-Dick. And I'm like, dude, it ain't the DECA. Did you tell your girlfriend? He's like, yeah. I was like, so now she's rubbing it in your face that your dick isn't hard enough because she's being a bitch. Get rid of your girlfriend, get a new
I
girlfriend, and
I have a
don't tell her
funny
about the DECA.
story that's similar to that. There was a guy who was in my chat during a live stream, and he said he never had any sleep problems. As soon as somebody told him that sleep is so important and you can like go retarded later in life and get dementia if you don't get enough sleep, he couldn't sleep after that because he was so paranoid. Yeah,
Yeah. So the nocebo effect's real. So the growth hormone without testosterone, you can do it if you have a high natural test. But keep in mind, if you're young, you might have a high natural GH and might not be appropriate.
sure. Um, so like if I were to get my testosterone checked, let's say it was just at 1,000 total,
Mhm.
and I just wanted, say, just some benefits for from growth hormone, just for like faster recovery. Maybe I have some injuries that I want healed. Um, it would probably still be worth taking GH. Like, would I be able to expect any like significant anabolic effects from it?
Nothing you would see it. It's like watching grass grow.
Right.
It's something that you throw in there because you know you should, but you're never going to see it, especially at your age. What are you, like 32 now?
34.
34. So now is the time to add in 2 units to make sure you stop aging and stay young forever.
I
People will argue this, and it's a complicated issue, but the vitality, the youthful appearance will persist longer.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about a little bit about that. I've looked at some research on GH with healthy aging, I know for
Mhm.
women, especially elderly women, like when you're talking about like 60 plus, it seems to be like pretty much universally negative. And when you get into very elderly, like 80 plus, women who have lower IGF-1 tend to live longer. Um, so like the bottom 50% of like low IGF-1, which is sort of a proxy for growth hormone, they seem to live shorter, or sorry, longer versus the women who have higher IGF-1. For men, that association isn't there. Whether it's high or low doesn't really seem to matter. And I know I know this may be down to dosing schedule, like, once a week or twice a week injections and stuff like that. But like I've seen brain swelling, water retention, increased rates of diabetes, like just as and it's defined as like high fasting blood glucose. They might not technically have diabetes if they stop the growth hormone. Um, yeah, increased rates of stroke, and I've seen some like case reports of left ventricular hypertrophy and stuff. So there isn't really like when we're talking about growth hormone trials, I haven't seen any evidence that it actually helps anybody live longer, and it seems to also be associated with some risks. I know Brian Johnson was doing growth hormone, and I think he was doing 2 IUs per day, so like nothing crazy. And I think he said he had increased brain pressure from it, and his fasting glucose went up. So, like, what do you think about some of those issues?
None of these subjects were lifting weights. None
Well,
of these subjects were on steroids.
Brian Johnson does lift, but he doesn't lift. If you know what I mean.
I don't tr- I don't trust anything Liver King has to say. Once you get
No,
caught
not Liver
lying,
King. He's a fucking
oh,
idiot. Like the other Brian Johnson, yeah,
oh,
the kind of vegan Brian Johnson. You know, the guy who wants to live forever.
oh.
Yeah, it's funny.
Um,
They're both named Brian Johnson.
yeah. So
Liver King was
I
doing like
basically
10 IUs per day or some shit like that.
it wasn't even that. Honestly, he was spending 10,000 a month, but his cycle was just ridiculous.
Yeah,
They didn't know what the hell they were doing, and I could have fixed that in 5 minutes. That when you look at the populations that are super old and at their end of their life, they've had a whole lifetime of screwing up. So you can't really look at what a 90-year-old woman who did nothing right her whole life, you give her some drug and then the results don't work out for her and then you blame the drug. She's on like 50 other meds that they're on Percocet for their hips and they're on this medication for dementia. We don't know how those are all
sure.
counteracting. We have to take somebody who's 20 years old, is a bodybuilder and eating perfect. Our definitions of eating perfect are different at this point in this podcast.
Yeah,
By the end, we might have the same opinion about eating perfect.
hopefully.
And then if they're eating perfect and they're living like Rocky Four, Ivan Drago lifestyle, and you're putting medicine into that body, then in theory, in that environment, it'll slow the aging process on joints, skin, connective tissue when being influenced by the external loads of lifting weights and all the hardships that a bodybuilder endures. And it preserves vitality, making you your age span, like your health span, that at 60, you will be as healthy as someone, your identical twin without it at 40. Or at 80, you're healthy as someone who would have been without it at 60. Now, whether or not you're going to die at 103, and your twin also dies at 103, who knows? The drug hasn't been around that long. The drug hasn't been around long enough to
It's
give it to children
yeah,
and then
yeah.
have it run into 100 years from now. So in the year 2180, we can actually see, did the kids get growth hormone from the minute they turn 9 to the minute they turn 99? Did they outlive the kids who didn't, who were their identical twins? Then we have data. Until then, we don't have data.
We do have some. Growth hormone has been used to treat stunted growth in children. So that would be
Right.
two standard deviations below the mean in terms of growth velocity. So those children do have an increased risk of death. Now, that may again be down to dosing.
And
I don't
that's
know what the
20, they're
standard.
using 20,
Okay,
they're
yeah,
using 20 units. It's not
that's a
using an
lot.
HRT dose, it's
Yeah,
20 units.
yeah, that's a
Yeah.
lot.
So that's going to jack up their IGF-1 to enormous levels. And the thing about IGF-1 is, do you like dogs? I
Oh
like
yeah,
dogs. Okay, so some people have big dogs and some people have little dogs. Big dogs live about 13 years, little dogs live about 18 years. That's because they're going to say that's because of IGF-1. But it's really because they're just big dogs. So the heart has to work that much harder to push the blood through the whole body. So the IGF-1 makes you bigger, which is the point of it. You're trying to grow muscle. So because you're carrying around all that extra muscle, it's harder on your kidneys and your blood pressure. And that eventually is going to put wear and tear on your system as a whole. Now, would you rather have 80 great years and then drop dead? Or would you rather have 40 good years and 60 shit years and then die at 100? That's the person's choice. Furthermore, there's this confabulation with IGF-1 and cancer. IGF-1 is a growth factor, like growth hormone, like testosterone, like protein, mTOR, and all of those things are going to turn up cellular machinery and metabolism. So if you have a neoplasm, that neoplasm is going to grow. It's not oncogenic, it's not a carcinogen.
yeah.
IGF-1 is not going to create a tumor, but if you have a tumor, it's going to grow faster because it grows everything. Now, this isn't necessarily bad, and this is controversial, but imagine if they find a tumor when you're 25, they cut it out, no harm, no foul. Whereas on the other hand, let's say they don't notice that same tumor until you're 75, they try to cut it out and you die on the table because you weren't healthy enough to survive surgery. In that case, the IGF-1 has saved you.
I'd have to re-research this and look into this, but I know at least for people in middle age, there were higher rates of reported cancers for people on growth hormone therapy. Um,
Right, because they found them.
well,
They were more detectable.
well, if they are growing faster and they're able to, just because of their rate of growth, sort of get past your immune system, that could, in theory, increase the risk of actually having
Right.
cancer in a clinical sense.
If we were to correlate rate of growth with aggressiveness of growth, so that you could have a stage one tumor growing that's non-aggressive and it just grows and grows and grows, but it never tries to metastasize. It doesn't necessarily mean because it's growing faster, it's more likely to colonize in lymph nodes or endpoint tissues.
Okay. I'd have to look it up again. I can't really remember exactly. I'm not sure if cancer survival rates or cancer deaths increased, or if it was just cancer incidence.
Also, the other thing is, and there's nothing wrong with this, but you're also looking at all outcome data, but not mechanistic data. As a biochemist, I'm more interested in mechanistic data than I am in outcome data because the epidemiology is usually twisted by retrospective analysis because it's unethical to do prospective double blind crossover studies. Whereas with mechanistic data, since it's done in animal models, you can do that. So you get much higher quality data when you do prospective
Well,
crossover
sure,
double blind studies.
you could it depends, but you could probably establish a more conclusive case for a causal link.
Right. The correlation coefficient is very low for outcome data, where the correlation coefficient is very high
Well,
for
at least for
mechanistic
those
data.
prospective studies, because they can't
Right.
randomize each group and just give them hormones. They're really just looking at,
Right.
people who are on HRT or not.
Right. So, for example, the best example, and this isn't a mean it's a dig, but this is the classic example that they say that people who eat vegan live longer than people who don't. But then the confounding variable is they're eating a structured diet where they actually give a fuck about what they're eating. Whereas the people who eat McDonald's and smoke Pall Malls and drink Jack Daniels don't give a fuck about themselves and don't even exercise. So I'm not disputing that the vegan diet would be healthier than most other diets, but you've got health conscious people versus people who aren't health
Yeah,
conscious,
we can.
and that's a major confounding
I
variable
don't want
with
to skip ahead too far,
right.
but yeah, we'll definitely get into that in a bit. So,
Yeah.
I was watching, I think Peter Attia's podcast. They were kind of talking about this, and yeah, like the healthy conscious variable when it comes to gear use is kind of an issue because like I've known some IFBB pro bodybuilders personally. There was a guy who trained at a gym near my work way back in the day when I was training like kids hockey teams. And that guy looked fucking amazing. And back then he was in his 50s. He still looks really good. And he would be like in his mid 60s now. Like there definitely are some dudes who hit the gear relatively hard. Like I mean, they're they're IFBB pro bodybuilders, but I mean, I've seen some guys like get into their 60s, 70s, and they're still jacked. They still look great. They look young for their age, despite being on gear. It's hard to say if like okay, they were taking growth hormone for long periods of time. They probably were eating relatively healthy diets, they were exercising very frequently. Like those are definitely lifestyle improvements versus your average American who's like smoking, drinking, eating like shit, not sleeping, all that crap. I don't know how much you can really attribute the benefits of something like growth hormone to their longevity versus everything else they're doing. And the growth hormone may have some benefits, surely, like it does help with tissue repair and stuff like that. People do anecdotally report just feeling better. it I don't know if you could say the growth hormone really did much in those circumstances versus literally everything else they're doing. And if you're talking about,
Oh,
yeah, so like let's just use me as an example because I'm considering using growth hormone. Like I have a very strict exercise routine. I think I follow a very good diet. Like I'm training 2 to 3 hours a day, 30 minutes of cardio every day, plus like mountain biking, rollerblading, stuff like that. Like, would the growth hormone like really be expected to add much to that?
it depends on your IGF-1. If you're at a
Right. Okay.
106 IGF-1 and we get your IGF-1 up to a 300, the medical community, even the sissies who are all caution neuroses, will agree that a 300 IGF-1 is still safe.
Okay.
So if that's why in my videos I say get your IGF-1 up to a 300, and then we don't have to push it. Like right now, mine's a 457. I'm not scared, but I wouldn't advocate to other people who have other goals because to me, it's about winning. If I die, I die, but I'd rather die trying than live quitting. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. And so I have no problem with a 457.
Right. You're
But
just
if
willing to incur
most
higher risk.
most people they say I want to be really healthy and then I want to use all these extremely dangerous drugs, and it's like, motherfucker, no you don't. You want to be cool because you think cool kids use steroids. No, you don't even have a goal in mind. You just want to use steroids just to use steroids. It's stupid. I want to win. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes to win. And I'm going to do the least dangerous things it takes to do it. But I'm not afraid of a 4 or 5 year exposure to a 450 IGF-1. But for the general public, 300 IGF-1, that's a normal level. It's nothing dangerous.
It's just like
But
upper
a three,
range, sort of like
it's upper
1,000
range.
T or something.
Exactly. Like who's going to be a better athlete, the 200T and the 100 IGF-1 guy, or the 1500T and the 300 IGF-1 guy? The second guy, in all other things considered, assuming they're monozygous, aka identical twins. So for you, if we could get, if your test is 1,000, leave it the fuck alone. If your IGF-1's a 296, leave it the fuck alone. You're just a genetic upper limit of normal. You've got a phenomenal physique. I've seen you
Thank
grow
you.
into an extremely well-built man.
Thanks.
In 5-6 years ago, I was like, I see some definition. I wouldn't call him big, but I don't know how tall he is. Now I know you're 6'3", but you look jacked.
Thank
And
you.
and also you're what, I think you're 208 now or 220. So
No, I think I'm close to 190 now.
okay.
I've been dieting. I got up to 276 when
Oh
I
wow.
benched
Holy
410.
shit.
Yeah.
That's a
I was
lot.
heavier before too. I think I got up to 289. I was running up to 405 bench. I got up to 410. But
Wow.
I bulked up. I just had to fucking do it. Like looking back now, I probably like I don't think I really needed to get that heavy. But I just really had that as a goal. Like I just had to bench 405. So I bulked up. I got up to like 289. I just couldn't get up to the weights I needed to lift. I think I needed 365 for 3 in order to realistically bench 405. I got up to like 340 for sets of 3. I just
On the
couldn't.
dot.
Yeah,
On the dot.
I just couldn't
Those-
accumulate any higher, so I dieted down. I think I got down to 235. Then I did another run up. I did a long hypertrophy phase. Got up to like 315 for 9. Almost got 10 on the bench. So then I transitioned into a strength phase. Got up to the 365 for 3. And I was about like 270 then. And then a couple weeks later, I attempted 405, and then I actually got up to 410. 405 moved super easy. And then after that, just because, goal hit, I just dropped weight super quick. I actually lost 70 pounds in 3 months.
That's crazy.
That was hellish. Um, Weird thing that happened to me. I had mental health issues my whole life, like suicidal depression since I can remember. It ended up getting to a point where I was just gonna kill myself. So my wife at the time, we're breaking up now, but my wife at the
Sorry to hear that.
time, oh no, it's good. Best decision I ever made. No hard feelings. But yeah, my wife at the time, she's like, okay, look, you need to get help. So I saw my doctor, got put on a bunch of different medications. I think it was Seroquel. It was some antipsychotic to try to stabilize my mood. As soon as I took it, I noticed I had a pretty significant reduction in appetite. And even after I went off of it, still permanent. It seems like it's a permanent reduction in appetite. I haven't been on that like any antidepressants whatsoever in at least a year now. I actually cured my depression with magic mushrooms. That's an
Awesome.
interesting story.
Microdosing.
No, big, massive, like fuck your brain doses. I had one fucking excellent trip, and we can talk about that a bit later. But yeah, depression cured, being off all medications, appetite still suppressed, and I don't think I've been on any antipsychotics for I think at least 2 years. So, and I've actually talked to at least one other person who had the same side effect. So I'm able to stick to a diet like super, super fucking easy now. The only issue
Mm-hmm.
that I really have is blood pressure and blood sugar. Like
Mm.
I still have that effect from not eating. It's just that I don't get hungry like a normal person. So I
All
can
right.
lose
So
weight
here's
fucking quick, but I'll faint like crazy and like nearly smash my head on something, or have like super low blood sugar, feel like shit, but I don't get the hunger cravings. So Yeah, it was easy in terms of like controlling hunger to lose that like crazy amount of weight in 3 months, but yeah, just like the fainting, blackouts. I've almost smashed my head a few times like on a counter because I just start blacking out. But
Have you tried Redditutide?
no, I haven't tried any GLP-1 agonists.
This is magical. That I
Yeah.
was on 50 units of insulin just to control my diabetes. And after 1 day of 1 milligram of Redditutide, I didn't need insulin anymore and my diabetes was gone.
Whoa.
Now, of course, I'm a hyper responder,
Yeah.
but it is fucking awesome that I will never have to worry about dieting again. It's like I'm never hungry, but I can eat when I need to eat. The hardest part about bodybuilding is diet. It's gone. It's literally gone.
Yeah.
And then also, you mentioned something else that I wanted to interject, but I didn't interrupt you. It was right around when you said something about your blood sugar, your heart rate. Are you measuring your blood pressure around your arm?
Well, I saw your video on that. And I thought that
Okay.
was interesting. Through my entire life, I've actually had a tendency to have fairly low blood pressure, below 120 over 80. My
Uh
mom has
huh.
a similar thing. She's actually prone to fainting too. Um, Recently, when I got my blood pressure reading, it was a little high. It was like 135 or something.
Okay.
I had to go to the hospital a couple times. First time I went, it was 120 over 80, like perfect on the dot. And I was also like, I also took caffeine, nicotine, and I couldn't sleep, but I took some like caffeine and nicotine just to safely make it to the hospital
Uh
because I
huh.
couldn't sleep and I didn't want to like doze off and like crash.
Right.
But yeah, even on the caffeine, nicotine, it still read 120 over 80. But then the next time I went, it was like 135 or something, and I was surprised. But then I saw your video. Yeah, I didn't know that. So if you have more muscle mass on your like around your brachial artery, it requires more pressure to actually compress the brachial artery. I had no idea. So my blood
Nobody
pressure,
does.
yeah, my blood
No
pressure is
doctor has
probably pretty
figured this
fucking
out yet.
low.
No doctor has figured this out yet. It's
Yeah.
just like it's so obvious when you think about it. Nobody has figured this out yet.
Yeah, so
Uh,
I I I I don't have like a blood pressure monitor. I've just never needed it. Literally every time I've gone to the hospital, I've gotten my blood pressure checked, and they sometimes they ask me like, "Do you feel okay?" Because apparently my blood pressure is being like so low, it's like near where it's indicative of a problem. But that was like a long time ago when I was a lot smaller. Now that my arms are a lot larger, it's
like
reading a
bigger.
bit more
Right.
normal. So
Right.
my
Right.
blood pressure is probably still low. I had even when I'm like bulked up, I still have a tendency to like faint when I'm doing certain lifts. So yeah,
For your audience. So I would normally lay down and put this on top of my heart, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to thread it through my shirt so it keeps it above my heart without me having to use muscles to do it. Let's see. Want it above your heart. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 uses and you're not supposed to talk. Well, it says 160 over 108. So it's probably because I had been holding it up and I'd have to lay down to get it. But anyway, or because I haven't had my blood pressure, I haven't checked my blood pressure in a while, but I don't think I'm up to 160 over 108. After this, I'll lay down and do it. But moving around, it kind of jacks it up a
yeah,
bit.
yeah. Yeah, but I'm not worried about my blood pressure. Like I'm vegan, do cardio, I'm at a healthy body weight, and again, like historically, I've actually always had a tendency to have like pretty low blood pressure, and I'm prone to fainting. So I'm not worried about that, but yeah, that was interesting. If you have more muscle mass, you should get a wrist cuff to test the blood pressure. Um, yeah, but yeah, I've always been pressured to like take steroids and shit because like again, I'm in the industry, had like body image issues and shit for forever, but I like some of your content because you literally put it plainly. Like, look, if you're able to make progress, what's the point? So I think I'm gonna hold off, doing any like actual steroids like testosterone or something until like the progress stops because I've made a lot of fucking gains, especially in the last year since I got rid of my depression. Bro, just being in a fucking good mood all the time and just loving fucking training. I've never enjoyed training so much, and I've just made so much progress, I think, just from that benefit and like mood uplift and like the reduction in stress. But I am interested in growth hormone just because, like, I do have some nicks and dings. I completely tore off the adductor longus on my left leg from doing squats, and I think it reattached on its own, but there's like tendinopathy, and I've had issues opening up my leg, and I have actually kind of hurt it a few times doing squats and deadlifts. So like just some injuries like that. I'm kind of interested in growth hormone and maybe some peptides like TB500 for just like helping healing.
Oh yeah. So did you see my Wolverine stack video?
Yeah,
Yeah. My first line of defense. Oh man, is it not here?
the
Is the
butcher bomb.
butcher bomb. Yeah, that's my first line of defense here. And this is Brett's brainchild. That I use this on my elbow and I use it on my knee because those tendons are right on the surface. And then for something deeper, if I have to get it into a tendon, something deeper, I'll inject BPC. Now, regardless of that, I'm always going to inject TB500 and the GHKCU and the GH. And I usually would want to stack that with Anavar because Anavar is on label for wound repair because of the collagen synthesis. The thing is, though, all of them do collagen synthesis. That a lot of these pharmaceutical companies, in order to bring a new drug to market, they have to have a reason to bring this drug to market. Either it's got a different half-life or it's better at treating a different disease or it has a special feature. So all the anabolic steroids do pretty much the same thing, just some of them are better at some things than others. So Anavar isn't even the best for collagen synthesis. It's just since EQ, which isn't made for humans, they were able to get the Anavar on label for collagen synthesis. Like Anadrol is on label for anemia because the biggest side effect of the Anadrol is how much it jacks up your red blood cells. So its flaw is what it's marketed for,
Right.
but that's not why they made it. So my cocktail would be BPC 157, TB 500, GHKCU, GH, potentially IGF-1, but the GH begets IGF-1, and either Anavar or EQ or DECA. Although remember, DECA and EQ come with some pretty hefty side effects. Like the side effect from Anavar, it crushes your HDL. The side effect from EQ is, in theory, it can damage your kidneys. I believe it's because it causes dehydration from crushing your estrogen. And then the side effect from the nandrolone is it's a glucocorticoid receptor antagonist. So it's going to cause a blocking of the glucocorticoid receptor, which in the brain can result in brain damage. Also, it will cause the estrogen alpha receptor to be more sensitive on the breast, and you're more likely to get gyno from your existing testosterone converting to estrogen. And I know that's super high tech stuff, but I just wanted to be thorough about it because I
Yeah,
didn't want it to sound like I'm advocating using anabolic steroids
yeah,
just to repair a wound.
yeah. So like, if I just wanted to try to recover from like tendinopathy or something, and I was doing isometric exercises, stretching, slow eccentric stuff like that, like just relying on those peptides would probably be the best solution, and staying away from like anavar and androlone.
I would say ice is the best solution. And if it hurts, don't do it. So the rest, ice, compression, elevation, that's the best thing to do. But when it comes to what drugs to do, if I was going to rank order them, I would say TB 500 immediately, GHCKU. I mean, GHKCU is the second line of defense. BPC 157, because you have to inject a tendon, is the third line of defense. Growth hormone would be the fourth line of defense. And then anabolics like Anavar or something that's also collagen synthesis driven would be the fifth line of defense.
Okay. Um, I actually had a pretty gnarly shoulder injury a while ago. This was like 2 3 years ago. I took a whole month off of training upper body. Tried to go into training again. Still fucked up. It was like a little better. And then I heard of TB 500 and BPC. I decided to go with TB 500 because there seems to be a bit more human research on it. That actually worked fucking amazingly. Um, yeah, after the 4 weeks I was on that, I was actually able to go back into training 2 weeks later, and then by the fourth week, my shoulder was just all better, like good as new. I don't know if this was from the TB 500, but before I took the TB 500, I felt something on my back. It felt like a little pimple, but it was like deep in the skin, so I couldn't pop it. And then a week into the TB 500, that little bump turned into this huge golf ball sized cyst. And it was painful as shit. I woke up just noticing it. And again, my wife at the time, she was out doing whatever. I told her, you have to come back home. Like, you have to pop this thing in my back. And she's like, yeah, it's not a big deal. Like, I'll do it when I get back home in a few hours. And I'm like, no, can you come home now? Because it hurts. And then she's like, it's not that big of a deal. Come back home. She comes home and sees it, didn't realize how bad it was. And she was like, holy fucking shit. So then she had to get a reconstitution needle, this like really big, thick ass needle, stab it, and then like pop it. And like the amount of fucking pus that came out of that thing was just crazy. I have no idea if that was side effect of like the TB 500 or something, but
I think you probably had an existing infection,
yeah,
and that because the TB 500 stops the inflammation, it's inhibiting the immune system.
yeah,
So
maybe.
there is no natural defense against that. And so what was formed in that infection just grew like crazy.
Yeah, maybe. Okay. Um, why don't we get into getting jacked as a vegan? Because
Okay.
yeah, I've seen a lot of your videos on like protein and stuff, eating, and occasionally, like, when I'm working out or something, listening to your stuff, you'll bring up vegans, and then I'm like, here we go. So, yeah, I've been vegan for 15 years, haven't eaten any animal products and shit. Um, like, again, you can see like my lifts on YouTube. I benched 410, overhead press 240 as a natural. You can look at my physique updates and shit. I think I look pretty fucking good at this point.
Right. Right.
So like I've made a fair bit of progress. I've never noticed any downsides to being vegan from transitioning to eating meat, being vegan. I've been lifting since pretty much like beginning of high school, and then right at the end of high school, I turned vegan. So I have I have a fair bit of experience lifting before being vegan and after. I actually noticed right after going vegan, my lifts very clearly actually improved. I saw an increase in progress. Also saw my waist like shrunk down. It wasn't just from like fat loss, like eating less. I think it like just helped my digestion, just eating more fiber and crap. Maybe I had just overall dietary improvement, and I just felt better, like more energy. And anecdotally, I know some people who've had that experience. Patrick Baboumian, he's a vegan strongman. He's retired now, but he was a vegan strongman. He held, I think he was Germany's strongest man at one point, and he had some German records, and he did have a world record in the yoke lift at one point. Pretty strong dude. I've seen him like easily squat 800 pounds. Um, he also did bodybuilding before he went vegan. I think he was vegetarian then. And he also anecdotally noticed, when he switched to veganism, his lifts actually improved, felt better, more energy. Clarence Kennedy, I don't know if you follow weightlifting or anything like that, Olympic lifting, but he's a big like Olympic weightlifting YouTuber. He doesn't actually compete because he's openly on steroids and he can't compete. But for a guy who's just recreationally lifting, he's like actually legit, like pound for pound, one of the strongest people on the planet. He actually is competitive against Olympic weightlifters in his weight class, like on the Olympic stage. So really, really fucking strong dude. He's known as Harry Squatter because he looks like Harry Potter and he can squat a fuck ton of weight. So he said he actually didn't notice any difference whatsoever. So it varies from person to person, but from what I've seen, like worst case scenario, it makes no difference. Best case scenario, like obvious improvement. That's just anecdotally.
Right.
Based on research, there is some older research that showed like people eating a purely plant-based diet grew less muscle. From what I've seen, most of that is just them eating less protein. Like they were clearly eating substantially less protein than like meat eater groups.
Right.
Recently, there have been a few trials that have come out. One of them directly assessing muscle mass and strength improvements. It wasn't a randomized trial, and the authors actually had reasons for not having a randomized design. They were worried about diet adherence. So if you get a bunch of meat eaters, tell them to eat a purely plant-based diet, who knows if they're gonna like eat something stupid, shit their brains out, complain, go off the diet. So they actually found vegans, they found meat eaters, roughly same body weight, age, put them on a protein match diet, no difference in muscle mass and strength. There's actually quite a few randomized trials just looking at like whey protein versus pea protein, soy protein, rice protein. Again, no difference. Now, that's not a complete dietary change. These people were still eating other protein sources, but they were swapping out whey protein with these different plant-based protein isolates. No difference. And there's some protein synthesis studies where they looked at like post-exercise, ingestion of whey or pea or soy, and they were looking at rates of protein synthesis. It seems to be very close on average, especially with soy, but it seems to be a bit lower. Now, you could argue area under the curve. You may have a bigger spike with whey, but the area under the curve ends up being roughly the same. And I do know there's at least one study on mycoprotein, which actually found it had the same rate of muscle protein synthesis as whey.
Right.
So altogether,
with everything, every single one of the things you mentioned, I've also found in my research.
yeah.
So I wanted to design a protein years ago that was pea and rice protein and hemp protein. The problem was I couldn't find a distributor that would make it where I could get the fiber taken out. And so people were getting gas. So it wasn't going to market well.
Okay.
But I definitely think that if you could leucine and glutamine, leucine fortify pea protein and have it stabilized for taste, you could make a market out of it. The thing I run into is when I use a powder-based diet, I get terrible indigestion. I have to eat whole foods. And
Okay.
so I don't know of a whole food diet that would get the correct ratio of protein to carbohydrates using vegan whole food sources. The best I found is peas. Peas is my primary protein source. Is my primary vegetable source. So I've always tried to minimize the amount of animal death with the way I consume. And unlike most bodybuilders, count the vegetable protein towards my total protein amount for the day. Pea, Ezekiel bread is a good example as well. There's also the counter argument that in the agriculture process, there's a lot of animal death that occurs, but I'm sure that that's drop in the bucket compared to the cruelty that the chickens and the cows endure. So I pretty much limit myself to fish and chicken, and I try to eat as little red meat as possible. And I totally have a guilty conscience about eating meat. And if there was a way to grow muscle without eating meat in an affordable way that I could digest, I would make the slow transition over the span of a year or two until I was totally on vegan. The thing is in my field, I have to win eating vegan. Otherwise, I make vegans look bad.
Right. Okay, I get what you're saying. We could maybe talk about some of that. So you're saying you get indigestion from eating is it any like protein powder, like including whey, or okay,
Especially whey.
especially
I
whey.
basically the only ones I can handle very well are if I have one scoop of beef isolate a day, which is made of collagen. So if you look at the actual collagen peptides, they match up identical with beef, which tells me that the beef isolate you're getting when you buy beef protein is really just tendons
Yeah,
and
yeah.
hooves and
I
stuff.
saw that video you
So
made. It's pretty scammy. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
so my expectation is that I'm eating the parts of the animals that were going to get thrown out anyway, that I'm not adding to the death. It's not, I mean, it's obviously a faulty justification. And then with the chicken thing is chickens turn over very quickly. And I have less of an emotional attachment to avians than I do towards mammals. And that this doesn't make it okay. And that same thing with fish is that fish have less personality than a cow, but fish stink up your whole house if you try to cook with it. So I have one can of tuna a day, and I have usually about 2 pounds of chicken tenderloins a day. And I want to minimize the amount of animal death that I cause. And to me, I know that vegans all or nothing, but as a professional bodybuilder, again, if I go all Danny Reardon tried this. Danny Reardon went all vegan, and she ruined her career, and then it made veganism
What's
look
her name?
bad. And Danny Reardon, she was third in the Olympia
Reardon.
about about 10 years ago in classic in women's physique. So I knew that if I had to be a winner at the top level of the sport and then disclose that it was due to veganism, because as soon as you put veganism next to your name, you've got a huge bullseye and you make vegans look terrible. So you have to win and be a vegan.
So
There's no
yeah, few things to say here. One, I think we know there's a problem with women and dieting. Uh, there
to
is.
say it mildly. To say it mildly.
Yeah. So I don't know if she's a great example of like, okay, this is what veganism can do to you. Like, bro, the amount of chicks I like I used to work as a personal trainer and I did online coaching and stuff and like bro, the amount of stupid shit that women eat, it's crazy. My ex-wife, like my
Yeah.
god, I don't understand. It's like all women. I'd give my wife gained a bit of weight and then she wanted help losing weight and then I gave her a diet plan. She just bought a fucking pack of protein bars, like vegan protein bars, and would eat like one or two a day, and that was her diet. And I'm like, what are you fucking doing? And then she'd complain about feeling sick and shit all the time, and I'm like, yeah, you're eating nothing but fucking protein bars. So I don't know, like I don't know if
That's it in a
that
nutshell. That's it in a nutshell.
So I don't
That's
know if
it.
I don't know if it's like one of those things with that chick where it's like, okay, well, maybe she was literally just eating vegan protein bars, or something weird was going on. Um, and that's kind of what fucked up her physique. But if you were to eat, I don't know, like more like me or something, or more like Clarence Kennedy, or Patrick Baboumian actually got in really fucking good shape recently. He used to do bodybuilding, and he's like pretty much retired from doing strength sports and shit. So he got in shape recently and was looking absolutely fucking sick. You might want to. I'll try to hook some of you guys up because you could maybe get some advice from these people. I'll just send you a link to his Instagram. I think he's active on there, and he should like message you. I'll also message him and give him a heads up. There's also the bodybuilding vegan, and he's a competitive bodybuilder, and I think it's pretty obvious he's also on PEDs too. So you might want to like maybe check out some of their stuff, and maybe they can help you with some of these things. I know dudes on gear do have like weird dietary issues a lot of the time, so like my stomach can like handle practically anything. Like I never get stomach issues. Um, except this one time recently. I was trying to find like just a cheaper protein powder on Amazon, and I tried this unflavored pea protein. That fucking wrecked my asshole. I don't know what the hell it was. I've had unflavored pea protein before. I'm not even convinced it was protein. I think they like put sawdust in it or something. I've literally never had that reaction. But genuinely fucking wrecked my asshole. Uh that was weird, but like I never have digestive problems from eating like anything. But I do know a lot of guys on high doses of gear have problems like that, so you might,
In the
yeah.
in the past, I've used red lentil pasta. I've used lentils. I've used rice protein pasta. So I've always went out of my way to find non-gluten protein sources. In Danny's case, she didn't know that gluten and wheat protein were the same thing. So she had a 100% gluten
Oh.
diet.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so as you can't make this shit up, can't make this shit up. So I'm not saying that my point of her wasn't that she failed, and so I'm afraid of failing. My point is that it made the whole world think that you
Yeah,
can't be a bodybuilder and
I
be
see
a
what you're
vegan.
saying.
So I have to win on a vegan diet. I can't get second because like, oh, if you'd eaten meat, you would have gotten first, and then it's gonna make all vegans look bad, and it's not my goal.
Right, right.
And if
Um,
I ever disparaged vegans, it was usually I lumped it in with like man bun, soy latte, vegan, the Anthony Balducci or whatever type of soy boy thing, and it was to prove some type of hyperbolic point of like the antithetical thing to a space marine from Warhammer 40K. It isn't that I actually believe there's anything wrong with sparing animal life. And I often have said that I'm all about the vegan approach towards preserving animal life from a ethical standpoint. There's a lot of people who I respect say that even though on paper there's no reason why leucine fortified plant protein wouldn't work, for some reason it just doesn't translate to real gains. Whether it's
well,
carnosine or zinc or whatever the fuck it is,
what do you
that's
mean by
also
that
in meat.
though? Like, are you talking about
Well,
from like whole food sources?
it's not even my statement. It's just people smarter than me about nutrition are like, Todd, I understand what you're saying. I've made your argument. I've tried it. In the end, it's nothing beats steak and chicken for putting on mass. And maybe it'll work for preserving muscle in the off season, I don't know, but again, if you're trying to eat enough, you can't. There's only so much red lentil pasta you can eat before you've got a 10-to-1 ratio or a 3-to-1 ratio of
Of like
carbs to
protein
protein.
carbs.
Yeah, that in
Well,
the off season we want to, and we can be high carb
yeah.
and low protein, and that's one I would be more plant based food. But in competition prep, you're eating chicken breasts and fish and peas and very little else.
Well, do you have issues with digesting tofu?
Never tried it because it's so gross. But
Tofu's
I
great, dude. It's not gross. Okay, what tofu did you have?
I I like it when it's in my miso soup, but that's about it.
Okay, so there's obviously ways of making tofu that would taste good.
Right. So is tofu? I thought the tofu was a soy blend of all three protein, carbs, and fats equally. Is that
No,
not the case?
it's I think it's like over 80% protein. It's mostly protein. It's got a little teeny tiny bit of carbs in it, and then the rest is fat.
And what
So,
I will do is I will start to I will try to incorporate a tofu meal. I'll like some noodles and tofu
well,
meal
you know what's
going
dope?
forward. And
What I love is fucking Korean barbecue sauce. Korean barbecue sauce is fucking god tier. I love that shit, but you can use whatever sauce you like, but dude, I'm telling you, Korean barbecue sauce is fucking lit. What I do is I just put some avocado oil in a pan, like you only need a tablespoon or something. Fry the tofu like medium heat on a pan, get it nice and crispy. Turn it to low heat, let the pan like cool down a little bit. Then drizzle some Korean barbecue sauce over the tofu, and then just sear it on both sides with the Korean barbecue sauce. Get it more crispy, and then you get the nice barbecue sauce flavor infusing into the tofu. And then like just that as a meal when I'm dieting is just fucking god tier. Like I can't get enough of it.
all right, well, I'll tell you what, I'll incorporate one meal of this tofu and see how my body reacts. And if everything's all good, I'll phase out a second chicken meal for the tofu. And maybe by the end of this prep, I'll be eating all tofu and not any other protein source. And
Yeah,
then my conscience will be clear.
yeah,
And if
and
I look shredded, I look shredded.
yeah, and tofu has a lot of health benefits. It's protective against prostate and breast cancer too. And I actually saw a video you made. You're talking about soy isoflavones and how it binds to the beta receptor and it might actually have a beneficial influence on IGF-1. Um, who knows? Like, I eat a
That would be
fucking lot
nice.
of tofu and I've gotten pretty jacked, so like, I don't know, maybe there's something to it.
Right. That
Um,
would be cool.
let me see.
you, you know my shit better than me. I don't even remember that video.
There's also soy-free tofu. And I think it's made with fava beans or something. Let me see ingredients. Pea protein, yeah, pea protein and fava beans. It's actually a bit higher protein than normal tofu. So,
Now, how many?
you might also want to try to find that. It likely has a different flavor, but yeah, fava bean tofu might be something if you can find it. I actually haven't been able to. I live in a small ass fucking town, so my our grocery stores are pretty basic bitch type of thing. But if you can find fava bean tofu, I'll send you a link to what the stuff looks like. It's a
Okay.
Big Mountain brand. They sell it. I'll just send you a message on Insta. So that's just what it looks like. And it's 64 grams per 340 grams. 64 grams protein, I think, per pack. Yeah, 340 gram pack. So
So that's like one meal. How
um,
many?
I don't know how many calories, like, if, yeah, so 64 grams of protein. times 4, like that'd be 256 calories just from the protein. There's probably some like
Right.
fat in there too, but pretty low in
How much
calories, pretty
more?
high in protein.
Right. I also have to consider cost though. Like if I'm eating 300 grams of protein a day, I could go 5 of those packs. How much are we talking? $25 a day, $750 a month versus tofu.
Well, so the tofu I get from the store is $2.50 per pack, and it's 500 grams. That's just the normal tofu, and I usually have 2 to 4 per day. That's assuming I'm not dieting. So, like dieting, I'll only have 2 per day. Not dieting could be 2 to 4 per day. So that's what, like $5 to $10 per day tofu. If you
That's
go to an
fine. Oh, no
Asian,
big deal.
if that's Canadian dollars too, so Canadian
Oh
shekels.
shit. So so all right. So if I go to an Asian grocery store, I could be looking at spending less than 200 a month on protein. Because right now I spend probably $330 a month American on chicken alone.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
plant-based protein's probably a bit of a cheaper option. I think on
But
average, I usually spend
is
like
there
maybe 60
enough
bucks.
leucine?
Huh?
I mean, are you going to get you? We need to hit 3 grams of leucine per meal in order for it to be worth the time of eating the meal. So, is there enough leucine in tofu per 100 grams to matter?
Well, soy is pretty high in leucine. I think if you just looked up the leucine in soy isolate, I know it's different than tofu, but since it's the same total amount of grams of protein coming from the same plant, you
Right.
can kind of
Well,
you can kind of do
you're
the
more
math.
you're techno wizard. Can you look that up right now and see?
Yeah,
Because
let
I
me.
know it's 2 grams per 100 grams of beef. It's 3 grams per 20 grams of whey. And those are the beef is the lowest amount of leucine, whey is the most. I remember soy being in the middle.
So for
Not bad.
every so this is according to Steel Supplements on Google. For every 100 grams of whey protein isolate, there should be between 11 to 13 grams of leucine. Same
Right.
amount of soy protein isolate will net you 8 to 9 grams.
All right.
So
So let me
you'd
do the
you'd get
math.
about you'd
So
probably
if I
get
have
well over that.
15, yeah, so if I have 30 grams of soy protein, I'm getting my minimum of 3 leucine.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I give a shit about. Plus, it's higher in arginine and higher in glutamine, which are your awesome amino acids for recovery and immune system health, making soy better than. Um, and then there's unclear whether the isoflavonoids have any type of feminizing effect, but
Yeah, there's
apparently
none.
I covered that and said that it's the beta receptors, which is the anabolic effect, making there being actually a hormonal benefit from eating soy that isn't present from anything
Yeah,
else.
there was just recently an updated meta-analysis on soy isoflavone supplements. I think there was one done in like 2015 or something. There was a recent one done like a year or two ago. They
Mhm.
found the same thing. No feminizing effect whatsoever. It doesn't affect like free androgen levels or anything. There's only 2 case reports ever recorded where people ate high amounts of soy and got like breast tissue growth. So, and they were under weird circumstances. I know one of them was a type 2 diabetic, really fat fuck, and he was eating like nothing but like some soy chicken nuggets. And then
Right.
he,
It's
who knows if he already had the gynecomastia? He might have
uh,
only like
I can
noticed
go.
it.
I let's go back even further. Who has the smallest boobs?
Asian chicks.
Right. Who eats the most soy?
Asian chicks. They also have the lowest rates
So
of breast cancer.
right. So I'm not convinced that soy causes breast growth. If the people that eat the most of it have the smallest boobs,
Yeah, and I
you know,
mean, like I've
nobody
eaten.
ever looks at it like that. I look at everything that way. They're like, oh, IGF, GH is going to give me cancer. Who's got the highest levels of GH? Kids. Who has the lowest amount of cancer? Kids. So how does GH cause cancer? Doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense.
even people with acromegaly, I don't think they actually have increased cancer risk.
Cancer.
They have other
No,
problems, but
a lot of them, but not that one.
yeah.
So
So, yeah, I mean,
guys,
I've seen like people do their own anecdotal experiments with soy. Brian Turner, vegan bodybuilding YouTuber, he decided to eat like extremely high amounts of soy per day, like every single meal soy, and his testosterone I think increased by 100 nanograms per deciliter by the end of the experiment. So like there's just no evidence that it actually has any feminizing effects in humans. I think people got
uh,
freaked out because of rat studies, and they also made some stupid assumptions because women going through menopause, soy seems to have some benefits, but
I remember I lived through that, and they were basically telling all women not to have soy because it causes breast cancer. And there was no actual data. It was just they were repeating it, what they heard.
where did you even hear that? Because like like I'm sort of old-ish, 34. I've literally never heard that in my entire life. I've always been told soy prevents breast cancer.
No, this was 2007, 2008 in the hospitals. All the doctors were telling the women not to eat soy.
That's weird.
But they were, but they were telling them to have dairy,
Which
which is proven
probably,
cause
yeah.
causes breast cancer. So,
There's actually
uh,
there's actually a very strong link between dairy and prostate cancer. The relationship between dairy and breast cancer is a little more mixed, but again, it probably increases breast cancer risk.
yeah, I'm not a fan of Western medicine. I pretty much hate Western medicine. The MDs there, people pay attention when I talk because of it. They don't realize that the IFBB Pro is worth so much more than the MD.
Dude, you want to hear a hilarious story? Um,
Sure.
I was doing online coaching and I had a client. I was working with him. He was recovering from cancer. He I think he was cancer free for like a year or two. He could only bench the bar, and I got him up to I think nearly benching 200 for a 1 rep max in like about a year. And I noticed like with some lifts, his progress was like really fucking slow. Like we can only add 5 pounds, like maybe every 2, 3, 4 weeks. And I told him like you might want to get your testosterone checked. Like I know you're recovered from cancer and stuff, but it's a little weird. So he didn't get it checked, but he ended up getting it checked later because I just brought it up again. It was in the fucking gutter. I think he had like the testosterone of like an 80-year-old man or something. It was like 80 or some shit total. Um, Goes to the fucking doctor. The doctor was only going to inject him with, I think, like 100 milligrams of an enthate once per month. And then he said, well, the half life only lasts for like a week or something. So what's going to happen
Right.
for the rest of the month? And then he said, don't worry about it. So then he just goes to a TRT clinic, and then even they were doing some weird stuff. He's on a test like an enthate cypionate mix, and it's a once a week injection. And they also gave him Rumidex. I told him not to take the AI unless he's getting like estrogen sides. So yeah, dude, it's unhinged what some of these doctors are
They're
fucking doing.
so bad at their
Yeah,
jobs. It's so bad at their jobs. It's oh my god, my job security is so fierce. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how bad they are at their jobs.
yeah. Oh,
It's like
bro,
if you
it it's crazy. Last time I went to the hospital, I was having that problem where I had like the massive reduction in appetite, couldn't sleep. I went in just to get a checkup, and I wanted to get a blood test and stuff, and like maybe get some tests done. They didn't want to do any tests, and they told me to just look up a solution online. I'm not even kidding you. They're just look it up online, Google it. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh man, oh Canada. Oh, Canada.
I don't know, man. At
Uh,
least it's free.
well, you get what you pay for. You get, and if you pay nothing, you get nothing.
Well, overall, my experience with the Canadian healthcare system is pretty decent. That was a really
Okay.
small, shitty hospital in the small town I live in. But yeah, in Toronto and stuff, if I went to Ottawa, which is a major city, like it's better. But yeah, these small town hospitals are just fucking terrible.
Do you know what's so fucked up is that we know Americans know nothing about Canada except for Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, and in my case, Windsor. And you guys know everything about
Yeah,
what goes on in the United States.
yeah,
It's so weird. It is so weird. It's like you're like Alaska too. Like
yeah.
that's how basic. That's how we look at Canada. Is it's Alaska too.
Yeah, I think most
Uh,
Canadians are actually genuinely more interested in US politics, and it's probably because it's more unhinged. Like, it's just more entertaining in general.
hell yeah, it is. We're crazy,
Yeah.
dude. We are crazy down here.
Bro, have
Oh
you
man,
heard of Toronto's crack smoking mayor?
no. What's
Yeah,
tell me all
we
of
had a mayor in Toronto named Rob Ford, and he was smoking crack. He was a crack addict.
well, good for him. I bet he got a
Yeah.
lot done.
Yeah, well, he was actually pretty okay, but he ended up having to resign because he smoked crack. Then he ended up getting cancer a few months later and died.
What I love is that it's not okay to smoke crack, but if you take modafinil and Adderall, it's a okay.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of
It's
stupid
double
Dude,
a
literally
lot of
everything
double
was okay except
standards.
steroids.
Yeah, everything. It's like you're the devil worshiper if you use steroids, but girls can use birth control pills even though those are steroids.
Oh yeah, and kids can transition and you can like smoke all the cigarettes you want, drink all the alcohol you want. But yeah, steroids, ban the drug that
Dude,
makes you stronger. Um
best one ever is if you go to AA, they chain smoke cigarettes and drink coffee. But if you use steroids, you're a drug addict.
do they really do that? They like judge people
Yes, that
for in AA
they
meetings?
they're like they have a cup of coffee in one hand and a cigarette in the other, and they'll drink and smoke like this, double fisted, and then they'll say people who do steroids aren't welcome because you're a drug addict.
I don't think they
The look
understand
on
what
your
drugs are.
it's the most judgmental asshole people you'll ever meet is because I got 25 years sober, but they wouldn't consider it sober because I use steroids. It's like, let me ask you something. Do you, didn't you just say that you have a psychiatrist? And they'll be like, yeah. And like, didn't you just say that your psychiatrist has you on Prozac? They're like, that's different. He's a doctor. It's like, well, I'm a doctor and I give myself steroids. So what's the difference? And they're like, you can't do that. It's like I just did do that. It's like I did that yesterday and I did that today and I'll do it
Well, you know what it
tomorrow.
is. I think the reason drugs like steroids are so demonized is because it makes you physically better. I think we have like a weird fucking society where for some reason we like idolize athletes and shit, but for some reason like there's always this like pull towards mediocrity where if you actually try to train, eat well, take care of yourself, and maybe you do want to take steroids for performance enhancement, like there's always some like weird pull towards mediocrity where it's like, why don't you do something fun instead of exercise? Why don't you go out drinking with us? Like, yeah, so I think that's probably a big factor for why like steroids are banned and there's like this weird stigma around them.
Your excellence highlights their incompetence.
Yeah,
So they must destroy you in order for them to feel valid.
yeah.
Any bright light has to be snuffed out so the dim lights can seem bright. I actually did a video that you'll like. It's how to build a cult. It dropped last night. Check it out. you'll think it's probably it's going to be on the nose with a lot of stuff, but a lot of the other stuff you're going to think is funny.
I was actually literally thinking of creating my own religion. I was gonna call it like strength cult. So it's kind of like sort of the idea behind like Conan and the God of Crom. I
Uh-huh.
think there's a fundamental issue with all of these Abrahamic religions at the very least, but there's some other things like Hinduism and shit that have
Uh-huh.
sort of a similar idea. Um, there's this delusion that everyone has that there's this like big strong man in the sky who tells you what to do, what right or wrong is, how you're supposed to live. And I think that just promotes weakness because
Yes.
if you have a lot of internal strength, like strength of mind, and like you recognize your own like physical strength, you're gonna see the truth. There's no meaning in anything. I'm a nihilist. Like without any mind, no people here, there would be no meaning to any of the rocks like, banging into each other in space, right? So your mind projects meaning onto other things. Your mind, puts value on other things. Like your mind generates like what is right, what is wrong. And rather than like, you know, having people recognize that strength they have and that power that they wield of their mind, you can put these values on things. You can decide what's right or wrong or what is meaningful or meaningless. You have to give all that up to this like non-existent fucking wizard in the sky, and you have to live in this like very particular way in this particular society where everybody tells you what to do, how to think, how to act, who you can and can't have sex with, when and what hole. So the basic idea of it is you're basically acting as God with your mind, and you're the one who determines meaning, value, and you're the one who fucking decides that. And if you want the world to be a certain way, you don't want people to like rape kids or kill animals or like any things that you may or may not find horrible. The only way to affect that change is to project strength. So the idea of prayer is the most weak, basic bitch fucking thing you can do because it is the definition of inaction. You are doing nothing but appealing to a god that does not care about you, and he could not possibly care about you because he doesn't exist. But even if he did exist, like let's say Jesus was in the sky, look at all the kids dying of cancer or getting run over by
But
fucking cars or getting blown up in some stupid pointless war. Like clearly this god doesn't fucking care about you, and you're literally just thinking, please save me, please change the world around me, when you're doing nothing. It's inaction. So like the fundamental idea of the religion I'm thinking of forming is just give strength to people who like, it's not even giving them strength, it's just like having them recognize, not be gaslit anymore by society. You have the power and you have the strength, and you have to impose that strength on society, and rather just commit to this loser, just weak, pathetic inaction of prayer. No, get up and fucking do something.
so I have three. Okay, one, I did a video, confidence versus arrogance. You will love that. I also did another one,
I've seen that one.
anxiety. Okay, anxiety versus depression. That also ties in with what you're saying. This cult one is the culmination of those other two. And the funny thing is what you said was so funny because Lucifer thought the same thing.
Yeah,
Icarus thought the same
yeah,
thing. Jesus thought the same thing. Galileo thought the same thing. Every time you try to stop authority from being a sanctimonious dick, you get burned.
yeah.
And people are like, he did not just lump Satan in with, you're right, I didn't lump Satan in. I said Lucifer. Lucifer, Icarus, Prometheus, Jesus. It's the same basic character told centuries apart of the guy who's like, why the fuck are we listening to this one? I can think for myself. Here, bitch, have an apple. Like, like that, I want to bring you up from being some dumb animal and make you as smart as the rest of us. It's like Prometheus takes the lightning of and gives it to mankind so they
Yeah.
can build science. So he gets chained to the Hephaestus's mountain, Mount Vulcan, so he can have his liver and eye plucked out by a vulture for eternity. That the idea that authority will not let you try to think for yourself or lead people out of ignorance, and that they call us rebels when we're actually the shepherds.
Yeah. But with that said, go vegan. Yeah, I mean, like, look, I don't think we're in disagreement on the whole veganism topic. You
I love animals. I love
yeah.
animals. I love winning too, though. So if I can win and still love animals, I'm there.
Well, look at it this way. Um like I saw one of your videos, like I think you touched on this in your like arrogance versus confidence video, and you were talking about like this idea of like I'm gonna win, and like making sure you have that affirmation in your head, I'm gonna win. You can have that same mindset just with I'm gonna win as a fucking vegan and prove to everybody. Like I
You're right.
think like I think if you actually adhered to that mindset, you would you would naturally sort of create situations around yourself that would ensure victory as a vegan.
What's the problem is my mind's been poisoned. That my mind's been poisoned. I think if I eat vegan, I'm going to lose. So I have to first rewrite my internal monologue. And then once I can rewrite my internal monologue with some evidence and some outcome data and some personal experience, that confidence will grow and grow and grow. But since I'm already in prep, it's a huge gamble. And every one of and my team is counting on me to lead us to victory. So for me to change the fucking game, take the game book and throw it out the window right when the season's starting, I'm fucking over my whole team. So
When
it's like part of me,
so when's your next show?
September 20th.
Okay, so
So
that's like 4 or 5 months.
20, yeah, it's 20 weeks. Like prep
Okay.
just started and prep's going great. So for me to throw a huge wrench in, like changing the primary protein source, is it's going to be a nightmare because I just got my sleep in order with Seroquel, as you mentioned. I finally resorted to using psychotropic drugs
You're
just to
actually
sleep.
using Seroquel?
Yeah.
Oh fuck. You should look into some of the research on that. That actually is very fucking dangerous. That actually causes brain damage. You do not want to be on that long term.
It's not for long term. It was just to reset my sleep cycle so I could
Okay,
match up with
okay.
the. So I was waking up.
Dude,
I was going to bed at 7
that
a.m.
shit
Right
fucks me
now,
up. Like
right now I'm going to
hardcore.
bed. Right now I'm going to bed at 3 a.m. Pretty soon I'll be going to bed at 1 a.m. And then I'm going to switch to trazodone. So the
Yeah,
point is I'm in the process of transitioning it. And a lot of people are like, you need a psychiatrist. I was like, motherfuckers, most psychiatrists might know psychiatry, but they're not going to know anabolic pharmacology and endocrinology and gastroenterology at the same time. And it takes a village to make one of us win. We're like RoboCop. If they gave me that Gerber baby powder in a tube and that's all I needed to shoot bad guys and fight for OCP, I would do it. I don't give a shit what I'm eating as long as it's what powers this machine. And if I can have no more blood on my hands, I'll never, I mean, I've killed more chickens than the Aztecs killed sacrifices. I'm done. I don't want any more blood on my hands. So I have to find a way around it. And I
well, you
appreciate your
can.
help.
Well, I like again, just like in your video, you absolutely fucking can. And I mean, I have. And like, look, I'm not a professional bodybuilder or anything, not an IFBB pro. I think I do have the genetics. Like if I wanted to go on gear and really push hard for that, I probably could. at least be in the contention of getting an IFBB Pro card. But
I
I
mean,
just
I can make you classic physique, that's for sure. You've got everything it takes to do classic.
yeah, like I definitely could, and I mean like I can do all this as a vegan. My cat's vegan. If my cat can be vegan, you can certainly be vegan too. So like I mean there's so many examples of people, you know, getting big and strong and also lean and like doing this. So it's not like it's I know there's definitely some figuring out to do. Like, you know, there's obviously going to be dietary adjustments and shit. But like thinking in the long term, like say over the next year or after prep, you could absolutely transition and
Oh,
figure it
there's
out.
no question in my mind that once this contest season's over, I was going to definitely do, after our conversation, I already made up my mind. I'm going to document transitioning to vegan as an off-season approach, but I haven't given up on at least minimizing the amount of animal casualty on prep and the transitioning into it. Because if all I need is 200 grams of protein a day, that's 800 fucking calories. That gives me an extra 2,000 calories worth of carbs. I could live off of lentils and and I'd have to throw in some leucine from some other sources. But still, I mean, I can make this happen. I know I can. The question is, how much damage am I going to do to do it? And is this the worst time to do it? Because everything's rocking and rolling. That for the usually whenever I go into a prep, it's with like a blown out ankle, a missing arm, like getting in the middle of a breakup, I'm getting sued, and I just do it anyway. Right now, there is nothing wrong in my life. Everything's perfect. I don't want to just fuck it by like, here, let's throw a complete monkey wrench in the mix and change the protein source.
Yeah.
But I'm going to talk to my team about it and see what they think. And I
I
make
mean,
these big decisions with the committee because it affects everyone on the team.
yeah, I mean like one meal where you just try tofu isn't going to kill you.
Right.
So like just try a piece of tofu and then see like
Right.
it, you know, if you don't have like explosive diarrhea and start vomiting and blood coming out of your eyes, like, you know, then yeah, and then maybe you could just have another meal of tofu and like replace like whatever chicken or whatever you're having.
Right. And change my protein powder from being beef to a pea rice
I
blend.
would so like I would lean towards soy. Usually the protein sources I have are like a soy pea blend. Sometimes they have a bit of rice in them. It seems like the soy one mixes better and it's easier to flavor. Pea has like a weird kind of taste to it. And
I
again,
remember
anecdotally, I've just noticed like less people complain about soy-based proteins versus pea.
about 11 years ago, I was basically designed a pea protein for LG Sciences. And the problem wasn't that it didn't taste good and it didn't work. It was awesome. It's that we couldn't get a consistent sourcing because sometimes it was from France and sometimes
Right.
it was from somewhere else. So the flavor profile changed so much, customers didn't like it. Now, of
Chances
course,
are, yeah, chances are it's different now because the amount of
right.
like pea proteins used in mock meats and
And
stuff.
hemp is another issue because some states won't let me manufacture hemp,
Oh
won't let
yeah,
me
that's fucking
distribute hemp
stupid.
because but like I've actually had a hemp blend plan. So there is Valhalla, Valhalla Labs, my supplement company. We do have on the docket a hemp pea rice based protein option, and we have a beef protein option so that we've got both for both populations of people. I haven't pulled the trigger on either of them yet because you got to basically drop 30 to 50 grand in order to get the stuff made. So
Right.
I wanted to try them out and like them first. And that's the thing too, is that it's so secularized. You can't have one without the other. Even if I don't endorse meat eating, if I come out with a vegan line and no meat line, then that's basically going to offend my base pretty extensively. And so I'm not saying I won't do that, but that's a big business decision that involves my partner too.
Yeah, I'm definitely considerate to, that sort of issue. But from my perspective, like I see so veganism by definition is the idea that animal rights is a logical extension of human rights. So
Right.
the way we would treat animals is the same way we would treat people. I don't
Right.
see any significant moral distinction between a human being and an animal. Like some people
Agreed.
say, well, they're less intelligent. Well, if you saw like a mentally disabled
No.
person,
If you read my comments, you would know for sure that humans are not less intelligent than animals.
yeah, you mean more intelligent?
Yeah, yeah. The comments I get make me wonder if my dog is
Oh,
smarter than the people making this statement.
like they might be able to figure out how to use an iPhone, and maybe your dog won't. But like the type of intelligence we care about, like just making rational decisions based on like the information you have, people are fucking unhinged crazy retards. I
Yes.
I don't I would not expect like my cat to do some of the stupid fucking shit people do. Because like the type of intelligence that's required to make some of these decisions, I don't think my cat is that stupid. So, yeah.
The best example is in Dungeons and Dragons. Human based intelligence is an 8, human based wisdom is an 8, but a wolf might have a 1 to a 5 intelligence and a 13 wisdom because the wolf's going to make better decisions.
Yeah.
It may not understand complex patterns or ideas, but animals tend to make better choices than humans do.
It's probably because if they don't, they're dead. Whereas
Right.
we've become so successful in society that all the smart people can cover for the retards. Like, why do we have seatbelts? Well, it's because dumbasses don't know how to fucking drive and then they run into a brick wall and then those idiots survive and have kids and then there's just more and more stupid people.
Well, it's because I think women select men for reasons other than intelligence. They don't sleep with the smartest men. They sleep with men who have other qualities that are much less important.
Definitely the case. That may be because they're not particularly smart either and they're not really thinking about intelligence. I think intelligent women certainly do care about dating intelligent men, but most women aren't particularly intelligent, most men aren't particularly intelligent, and then, the rodents breed out of control.
Yeah. Yes, I think that is a perfect point. So I do have to run to my next meal. This has been awesome. I'd love to do this again.
Yeah.
Um,
Why don't you shout out like your social media and stuff for people who are
all right.
interested?
This is super easy. My name, Todd Lee MD, on every platform. X, Instagram's my main platform, Spotify, Patreon, um, obviously YouTube. Although my YouTube channel was banned, so my new YouTube channel is called Dr. Todd Lee's Anabolic University. But if you Google Todd Lee and any subject, I'm the Todd Lee that comes up on Google or anything else. So just my name, you can find me. And just like Vegan Gains, you're the only Vegan Gains, the world famous Vegan Gains.
All right. Well, thanks for coming on. We should do this again. Maybe we can have a thing on your channel where you invite me on.
Oh, I'd love to have you on. Yeah, absolutely. And hopefully we'll be able to go through and come up with like a good case presentation showing like side by side. This is the profile of beef. This is the profile of pea. This is the profile of soy. You can see that the soy on paper is more anabolic. And that way we can prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. And if what we can't do in real time, my editor can do behind the scenes. I'm actually going to jump on the phone with them immediately after I get off this and start mapping out a plan on how we can have a semi campaign that is vegan focused without it being biased. Because as soon as I've got an agenda, people aren't going to listen to me. But if I
Yeah.
pose the question, vegan or carnivore, which is more anabolic, and I present it objectively, then it'll actually more people be open-minded. No one likes
Well,
being sold something.
and I mean, I look at this from a holistic perspective. Vegan diets do seem to have better health outcomes associated with them. There are some unique benefits to plants that, you know, animal products don't have. You avoid some bad things, you get some good things. And on top of that, like, we all care about ethics too, to some degree. Like, nobody wants to see animals get tortured, killed, factory farmed. So,
Thank you for saying that, because a lot of people, they don't seem to understand that the far right people are still people too.
yeah,
Like nobody wants to see homeless people suffer.
yeah.
No one wants to see people starve. Like nobody's like that. It's just the issue of, okay, you got some ideas, great. How do we pay for them? Oh, you don't know how to pay for them. Come back when you know how to pay for them. So it's like, oh, we can have an animal cruelty free world. Awesome. How do we do that? If there isn't a plan, then it's like, well, I guess we're going to have to continue with what we're doing until we have a plan. And you sound like the man with the plan, and I want to hear all about the plan.
I do have a plan, and it involves a fucking lot of tofu.
A lot of tofu. All right, cool. I like anime anyway, so
Hell
it gives
yeah.
me, yeah. All right, buddy.
We
It's
got to
been a
talk about
pleasure, man.
Berserk and shit sometime too.
Okay, guts. Did you listen to Slaughter to Prevail?
No, haven't heard of them.
Okay, so Slaughter to Prevail is a Berserker themed deathcore band, and another one is Brand of Sacrifice,
I've heard of them.
which I know you recognize.
Yeah,
Brand
I
of
know them.
Sacrifice. I think you will like them.
Yeah,
Check out
I know
Demon
Brand of
King.
Sacrifice. Yeah, they're good.
Okay, yeah, that's so we got music in common too. So we both made friends today. It's awesome, man. I can't wait to talk to you again.
All right, man. See ya. Thanks for
All right,
the
bye-bye.
chat.
My pleasure. Bye bye.
Alrighty. That was good. Let me see here. In case any of you wanted to ask any questions or send me some stupid shit, I'll have like a post discussion schmiggle schmaggle with you all. Thoughts on Oblivion Remastered? It looks like, as far as Unreal Engine 5 remasters are concerned, it's a pretty good one. Performance isn't outstanding, but it's pretty good, especially if you don't use RT. They did make a number of changes and enhancements to the game that are good, like quality of life improvements, like improving the voice actors and stuff like that. So I'll probably play it eventually. Just not right now, because there's a few games that I want to get out of the way, like, you know, Doom and shit. Like, way more than I expected to. So, I might just take tonight off, eat a little bit more, and just chill, but, yeah, if I do come on, it'll be in a few hours. I can't make any guarantees. What do you mean, stream frozen? Thoughts on Burger King Impossible Whopper?
And speaking of alt-right people.
Let me take a look here.
Tonight, and my beautiful co-host tonight is none other than Brett Ehrlich. Brett, how are you?
I'm so glad I got my eyelashes done and that you noticed it and you called me beautiful. I'm doing all right. How are you?
economic news, so let's just jump right into it. I can't wait to get your thoughts. The GDP contracted by 0.3%, the first time it shrank in 3 years. But immediately, Trump began to shift the blame, writing on Truth Social, "This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's."
I've seen that. Well, thanks for the donation, Dodo. Looking odd, donate $2 hairline. My hairline has literally not changed since I was a child. My hairline is doing just fine. So I got a nice head of hair, and I've never heard any complaints. Thanks for the donation, though, looking Thanks for the donation, Dodo. Yeah, Dr. Todd Lee is a pretty decent dude.
Good discussion. I disagree with Todd that nobody is a genuinely bad person and that everyone is open to change. Look at the carnivores who brag about animal torture.
I don't think that was his actual position. He's certainly open-minded and open to change, but I don't think he said, like, most people or everyone is open-minded. Thanks for the donation, though, Masashi Blade. Yeah, but Todd Lee is a pretty decent dude. I was actually surprised how open-minded and actually how much he cared about animals. So yeah, I like him. He's a good dude. We're into a lot of the same shit too, like music, video games, crap like that. I'm gonna tofu pill him.
And Trump is still dumb enough to blame Biden for everything even after everything he's done. Unbelievable.
Well, Trump doesn't actually believe that. He's literally just making up a bullshit excuse. He is knowingly and willingly lying. Thanks for the donation, though, Dodo. Thoughts on Burger King Impossible Whopper? I've had the Impossible Burger. I like it. I've never gone to Burger King and had the Impossible Whopper, but it's literally the same thing. So it's cool that Burger King has a plant-based option. Like, I'm obviously not going to complain. I have trained BJJ before. I never progressed past a white belt. I was only doing it for about 3 months. And then I moved to Belgium, and then when I was in Belgium, I just got back into weight training, and then since then I've just been focused on weight training, haven't gotten back into jiu-jitsu. I'm planning on going back into martial arts. I don't know if I'm going to do jiu-jitsu specifically, but I'm looking into Sambo. I'd rather do Sambo. The only issue is the only Sambo place is a bit of a drive away. It's like about an hour away. Whereas the closest jiu-jitsu place, I think, is like 20 minutes. Retard, donate $2. Are you going to start a new stream? If I do stream again tonight, it's going to be a new stream. I'm not going to just keep streaming. I was just going to answer some questions or whatever for a few minutes. Thanks for the donation, retard.
Todd Lee is more Orient-minded than most people, unfortunately.
He is. He certainly is. Thanks for the donation, Dodo. Ben donated $2. Open Discord. I need to talk to you. Is there any particular reason? I'm not showing you on screen. You're just going to try to flash a penis, aren't you? I'll put the link in chat, but I'm not showing my screen. You're just going to flash a dick or something or troll me, I'm sure. Thanks for the donation, Ben. No, no one's following my religion yet because I haven't officially created it. I am planning on creating a unholy doctrine. Hello?
Yo, what's up, Vegan Gains? Yeah, so you were talking about taking growth hormone. You should look into MK677. It's much better. It's
No,
cheaper and
MK677's fucking stupid.
how so?
Well, it's only a growth hormone secretagogue, so you're not going to get as much growth hormone as you would just taking actual growth
What up?
hormone because it's only making your body produce a little bit more, and it also has side effects. So, yeah, no, I'm not taking MK677.
Well, I'm saying overall, like it's cheaper. You reduce the you minimize the possibility of side effects because real GH, the side effects
Well, you don't.
are like way worse. They do. The only side effect
MK677
for
has
MK,
its own set of side effects, and it also tends to massively stimulate appetite. So why would
well,
and
you
on
can
top
take
of
it
that,
at
a lot of it's faked, and it might actually just be oral steroids. Like it's stupid. I'm not going to take MK677. It's way easier for me to find real GH compared to MK677.
All right, well, that's your choice, but you can take it at night and then just sleep through the hunger. That's what I do. Um, yeah, your choice. Also, I have a question. You think MK is natty?
No.
You think creatine is natty?
Yeah.
Okay, can you name a trait that would make creatine natty but not MK?
Yes. Creatine is not a growth hormone secretagogue.
But yeah, why would that make it natty? And why would a growth hormone secretagogue be unnatty?
Yes, because it doesn't affect hormones, whether it be peptide-based or sterol-based.
Creatine does affect hormones. What do you mean?
It doesn't.
Yes, it does.
No, it
That's
does
why
not.
you we could look this up.
It does not.
Everything you do affects your hormones.
Okay, so is sleep a steroid? Are you not natty because sleep
Well, I'm just
increases
saying, if you're
testosterone? Like, I don't know what you mean by
if the
that.
trait, well, that's what I'm saying, right? If the trait is that it
Yeah, we're
affects your
talking
hormones,
about
well, everything.
yeah, so we're talking about something that modulates hormone production or bypasses hormone production because it's just an endogenous source of hormones. So
Like super physiologically. So like if it boosts growth hormone levels to like beyond what's like naturally possible, is that what you're saying?
yeah, depending on the dose, I think you can expect like a 30% or more increase in growth hormone from MK677.
Oh, it's way more. It's like 70 or something.
Yeah, well, again, depending on the dose. I think lower
Yeah.
doses it's about 30. Higher doses it's going to be close to 70.
So yeah, what's the trait exactly? Is it like
So
I'm not
it's
sure
not a
quite
hormone secretagogue, nor is it a hormone itself.
What like how is that the trait though? You're just describing what you're just giving descriptive.
You're the one
material.
asking me what the trait is, so I can define the trait as anything. I could define the trait as it comes in pill form.
Okay, well, test isn't a growth hormone secretagogue, so is test natty? Like what?
I
Is that
said
like
whether it be a growth hormone secretagogue, or sorry, whether it be a hormone secretagogue or a hormone itself. That was the trait.
yeah, but everything affects your hormones.
That
Everything
doesn't
can be
make them hormone secretagogues nor hormones
yes,
themselves.
it can. Okay, well, let's look up the definition of a secretagogue then. So a substance that causes another substance to be secreted. So yeah, everything you like your sleep, you can name a bunch of things. They would all secrete certain hormones.
Sleep does not secrete hormones.
Well, that was just an example.
Okay.
You can give a condescending laugh all you want. That doesn't really, yeah.
All right. Well, this was a good conversation. Thanks for stopping by and making things interesting.
Wait, so you're not gonna name the trait?
I did, but take care, dude. Yeah, I know he's a troll, but that was funny.
What are Dr. Toddley's views on Israel?
I have no idea. If I had to assume, probably pro-Israel, but I really have no idea. I'd have to ask him. Thanks for the donation, retard.
Yes, no flashing decor showing porn again on stream. We will not be deleting this debate.
Yeah, that's right. Definitely don't want to jeopardize that. But I'm going to sign off now. Hope you guys enjoyed that debate / discussion. It was more of a discussion than a debate. We mostly just agreed on everything. So I'll leave this public so everyone can watch it. It's not going to be members only. No guarantee if I'm going to stream later tonight. I'm very, very exhausted from dieting, and I think I might need a night off and just some extra food. I lost way more weight this week than I had planned, and I'm very run down. Might be better for me to just take a break, but hope you all had fun. Big thanks to everybody who donated on Streamlabs, whether I see you tonight or not. Hope you all have a nice night. And take care. Oh. There's some more.
I'm going to have to stop sleeping and eating healthy. I don't want an unfair advantage.
Yes, healthy lifestyle is performance enhancement. So, sorry you're not natty because you sleep and exercise and eat well. Thanks for the donation, Masashi Blade. Ben donated $2. You lost the debate, bud. Well, regardless, I think we came to a concession that I'm happy with. Thanks for the donation, Ben. All right. Thanks again, everybody. Again, I likely won't see you all tonight. I'm probably going to take the rest of the night off, but we'll see. I'll see you all tomorrow, either way, regardless. So take care.